welcome to episode 3 of Uncensored Hearts. I'm Romans.
I'm Kayla.
Can you believe this is already our 3rd episode?
I actually can't. It feels like we're moving at a super fast pace, but it's also been such a long time coming that I'm really excited.
Like 3rd episode.
Yes.
Like that's very quick.
Yes, it's crazy.
Okay.
It's crazy to even hear that we're here at this point.
Okay, so like this episode, we're gonna get straight to the chase.
Let's do it.
Because I know we were having a really good conversation earlier.
Correct.
And I kind of want to just touch back on that conversation.
Let's do it.
Okay, so you told me that you had saw a video
Yes.
of a certain celebrity. I'm not gonna say the name.
Okay.
And they were cooking with their ex's baby mama.
Well, not just baby mom. Allegedly, the woman that he cheated on her with, who is now his baby mom,
So
were cooking in the same.
So he cheated on her, and she cooking with her now.
Correct. And they both got kids by him now.
Okay, so can you kind of like elaborate a little bit more? What else is happening in this video? Like, did they even touch on that? Did they touch on how they got there?
Yes. Okay. So I'm just gonna take it back a little bit for the audience. This woman was dating this guy. He's a rapper, so that kind of gives you a little hint. He dating this rapper, was with him for a little while, was with him for some time, ended up getting pregnant by him. Kind of toxic, still in the same sentence. Very, I think I would say a toxic relationship, but they very much were together, very much had a kid. And shortly after having the kid, it is alleged that this man was seeing this other woman, and this other woman knew about him just having a baby with this woman. So during that time, the breakup ended up being very ugly, very messy, very toxic, and
very
then
public.
very public,
Mm-hmm.
and then immediately ends up with this new woman who is also very much within the industry, very much known on social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ends up with her, and then they're flaunting their relationship around, and eventually it comes down to them having children. They end up having 2 children together. They've had some issues, I would say that, of course, if you know who we're referring to now, then you know that they've had some issues with one another. The first baby mom and the baby dad have had issues with one another. But then recently, more so recently, you see them in the club together. You see them dancing together, drinking together with the baby daddy there. So, mind you, baby daddy is there and both of the baby mothers are there. So the baby mom and the side chick, who is now the baby mom, are all in the same presence of each other, drinking, dancing, etc. Then shortly after that video surfaces of them, being in the club, being with one another, they then do a cooking podcast with one another. And in the podcast, they do a lot of explaining about everything. They kind of give us some insight on a little bit about them, kind of gives us a little bit of personality about them both, kind of shows us a different side of them that we don't really see on social media. And they just kind of give us a lot of the tea on what's going on, but still leave us, people like me, wondering, is it for a show or are they genuine?
I mean, first of all, do you think you could do that? Like, do you think you could be cool with your ex's side chick or even your man's side chick? Because some people know that their man has a woman on the side. They know they have a mistress. Or do you think you could be okay with that? I know I couldn't be okay with that.
I think you know me well enough to know that I would not be okay with that. I think you know me well enough to know I would probably flip the whole room around.
The audience don't even know.
Okay, well,
so go ahead and enlighten them.
No, I would not be okay with it. So coming from a woman who has been in a relationship or who just got out of a relationship from a very long time, I can't even fathom the thought of my baby being around somebody right now. And I know that to the audience, to some people who do not know me or do not know the situation, they would feel as if that's bitter or that's immature or that is coming from a hurt place, which very well, yes, is still coming from a hurt place. But I think there's a way to go about things. There's a way to handle things. And if that woman were to be somebody he was dealing with prior to us, not being together, we'll have a real big problem. We would have a really big problem because at the end of the day, you knew about the woman prior and you still continue to deal with this man and you still continue to just be that person that essentially ruined a family, whether it was ending or whether it wasn't. You essentially was okay with being a part of the downfall of that family.
Yeah.
Again, they were very toxic before.
Hmm.
So I don't discredit her for that. Their toxicity was very public. You could see, that they were toxic, but they were still together and just had a baby. One thing that really blew me, or will blow me, or could blow me, is if you're dealing with a man that has a young child and
Hmm.
has just been in that relationship with that woman. Not to say, because some people have accidents, as far, not accidents, let me take that away. Oh, I apologize. Some people have situations where it's not planned. It wasn't planned for them to have a kid. They weren't in a
Right.
relationship. It happened.
Yeah.
So that could be a different situation. But if you are dealing with a man who has a child under the age of 1, there's a fine line you should be walking on, I feel.
Yeah, I don't it's hard to say, especially when you're not in that situation. It's hard to speak on situations that you really don't have the footing to
Mm-hmm.
stand on, or but just from the outside looking in, I don't think I'll be able to do that. And just knowing me, I won't. I know I won't. I won't be able to
Mm-mm.
do that simply because I respect myself enough to immediately cease all contact with the person who put me through that. I'm not going to go
Correct.
ahead and, on top of that, keep in contact with somebody who also played a part in the disrespect of myself. Like, I'm not going to do that.
Correct. Because
I
you
respect
knew,
myself a
yeah.
little bit
You
more.
knew. You knew who I was.
Yeah.
You knew about me.
Especially if you knew about me. It's a different, like,
Yes.
it was disrespect on so
Yes.
many different levels.
I agree.
And I have to respect myself a little bit more
I agree.
than to put myself through that. Now, mind you, I'm also speaking from a place of not having a child involved. But if there was a child involved, that's a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different story.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, yes, you would want to dissociate from that person, but at the end of the day, hey, this is
And
my
so
child's
that's kind of
father.
what I want to point on to a little bit, because they did speak about that in the episode. And they really mentioned like maturity.
Yeah.
They really mentioned maturity in the kids a lot.
Mhm.
And I do believe if you have, you know, a baby father who has children with other women, if there's been no disrespect amongst the women, I don't see a reason that we can't coexist. As far
Absolutely.
as we have, our children, our siblings, they need to be around each other, they need to know each other, they need to be able to be in the same environments, the same, places and things of that nature, yes. However, if there has been disrespect, I don't see how coexisting could be beneficial for the children. If you don't respect me or do not like me or have not shown me respect,
Mhm.
I wonder how you would treat my child.
Okay.
Because essentially, I am that child's mother. And how you feel about me could then reflect on how you treat my baby or how you treat my child. And not intentionally, but unintentionally.
Yeah.
And I know that
Yeah.
that could be a very fine line we're walking on, but I just feel like if there's been some type of disrespect, we can't just be besties.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You
And
can't be my
yeah,
best friend.
you can't. I don't see like besties being like the first thing to go to. But like you said, say for example, you're married to someone, y'all have children, and then y'all have a divorce. Y'all both agree like, hey, this is not for us. And then years go by, or whatever, minutes go by, and they're in a relationship with somebody else, and then they have kids with someone else. That's a whole different story.
That is a very different
versus,
story.
you're being married, and then he had a mistress this whole time.
Correct.
And now
then
you're
you
expected
expect
to
my
be
kid to
friends
then be best
with the
to-
mistress.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no. We can't. I think that their situation leaves conversations like this to happen. You
Right.
know, because you can't tell me you didn't know about me or who I was to this man when, for one, everything has been so public, but for two, we have a young baby. Their baby was young. Their baby, I don't remember, but I don't think their baby was even a year old at the time. So
a lot of times when we have like conversations like this, no one ever thinks about the place of the mistress. Where do
Okay.
you think, like, a person who has done that or who sits in that space right now, where do you think their mental state is at right now? Do you think like they love themselves enough to respect themselves enough to not even put themselves in a situation like that? Or like, what do you think?
So this could kind of go a little deep, and I know we don't have like a whole lot of time this episode. But I believe that each and every one of us are operating out of a hurtful place. I believe that
Absolutely.
each and every one of us have not done enough work to heal ourselves before getting into relationships. A lot of the time, some of us have, but that's after we've hurt other people and been hurt by other people so many times. So I believe that each and every one of us have some type of hurt that we're dealing with, and whether we've healed it or not, we're still dealing with it. Um, because of that, some of us tend to take on hurt from other people, and we tend to be delusional, blind to it being love. I also want to add that I believe that the man in the situation is the problem.
Mm.
And I say that to say because you as a man can manipulate the woman to thinking that the other woman was completely crazy, completely this horrible person, that then this new woman is looking at it like, oh, she just crazy. Oh, she delusional. Oh, she just want him back. And it never was that.
Yeah.
It never was that. It was trauma after trial after whatever happened. It was so many things that happened that caused this woman to then be put in this light of crazy.
Right.
Whatever the case might be. So I believe that woman who has chose to be with or to get with or to talk to a man who just got out of a relationship or even in a relationship has a lot of hurt, has been potentially manipulated by the man, and does not have a lot of self-love at the time.
Absolutely, but they also try to play it as a way where they say, like, you know, oh, I could get him, like, you know, I could
For
get
sure,
your
but
man. That's
just covering up insecurity of their
absolutely
own,
that's exactly
you know?
what it is.
That's
It's just like
covering
a
up
cover. It's a
insecurity.
blanket to cover up what's below the surface, which is that hurt. And like, I don't feel like someone's gonna take me serious enough to be faithful to only me.
Correct.
So I don't trust anybody to be faithful. So now I'm not gonna expect anybody to be faithful. So
I'm just gonna be
not
okay
gonna
with taking anybody man or being with anybody man.
Okay, I can have them.
Yeah, you can,
And
it's great. And you know, I've kind of went through the process and the thought process of, I wonder what that woman thinks. You know, I wonder what she's kind of like, what's in her mind, and you know those things. But initially, it's probably great. They're probably having great sex, great conversation. It probably feels very intentional and very deep because
you're not supposed to be doing it.
Well, and because
that's where the fun comes from.
That's where the fun comes as far as the, intimacy and the sex level. But the conversation can be very deep and very meaningful because at that point, that man is telling everything. That man is telling all of the things that he didn't tell the woman he was with.
Yeah.
He's telling this new woman, he's telling her, and he's getting to feel vulnerable at that point, and he's getting to feel in control again of his life.
She understands me.
She understands. She hears me. She not gonna do the same thing that the other woman did because she know what I didn't like. But let time go by. Let time go by. And if we refer back to the video of the two women that were in the podcast together doing the little cooking video, they're now in the same spot. You're just a baby mom.
So they're no longer together.
Officially, no.
No.
It wasn't made clear in the video that they were together. So now it just appears that she's a baby mama, but with 2 kids now.
So it's probably like, okay, now I'm in your shoes. Let's be cool.
Correct. And it was brought up in the video. I understand now. Well, now you understand because you're being done the same way, and you have children now.
The crazy part is a lot of the times women feel like, oh, I took him, I got the prize. When in reality, the woman he's with knows him through and through and knows, like, girl, you getting the scraps and the scrums and all the leftovers. Like,
correct.
You don't know who you dealing with. And they don't realize who they're dealing with until later on. Like you said at the beginning, it feels so fun. It feels so, I'm getting my confidence back. I'm getting my life back. I'm back in control. It's all a facade because a few months later or a few years later down the line, you realize, like, I see why she doing this. I see why she ain't saying what she's saying or doing what she's doing. I understand now. So now she probably does understand.
For sure. And so I think the thing about the two in the video that was really a shock for me was that they put no blame on the man. Hardly.
That's crazy.
Hardly. Like, they hardly put any blame on him. So
yes, he's in the middle. Yes, she knew. Yes, the other woman knew that he was in a relationship with you, but he's the one who owed you loyalty.
For sure.
Not her.
For sure. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think that this could be a very long conversation. I think this
Absolutely.
could go on for hours at a time. I feel like a lot of us are stuck in these situations that we don't know how to get out of.
Yeah.
Meaning, people stay in relationships too long, people stay in situationships too long, people stay in, you know, environments too long, and then it becomes a toxic situation, and we end up having to then see women coexist rather than the
Mm.
man ensuring that he did his part. If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
So,
Well, all right. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And honestly, I feel like we really want to know what you would do. So go ahead and comment down below and like let us know what you would
yes.
do in this situation. Like, would you be okay being cool with your friends or your man's,
Mm-hmm.
side chick? Or like, what would you do in that situation?
Correct.
Yeah.
I would like to just hear back from you guys because I would like us to rekindle this conversation at our on our next episode. I would like to kind of piggyback off of some of your comments, some of your thoughts. That way we can kind of have a deeper conversation. We again were having this conversation prior, so we just wanted to kind of put it on the podcast and just kind of see where we could go with it and what we could obtain from you guys from it. This is something that a lot of women deal with in today, and I think that we could be a platform to really help them, to really show them like, hey, you're not alone, but this is maybe some tips that we've gathered from not only our conversation but from our, listeners, and maybe help somebody out.
Absolutely. And as always, we need you, your mama, your mans, your cousin them to subscribe, like, and follow so you can tune into next week's episode of Uncensored Hearts. I'm your host, Romans.
I'm your host, Kayla.
And thanks for tuning in to your new favorite podcast. Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.